It's 8:43, 5 July 2019, Friday. I'm recovering refrigerant out of this chiller here. Circuit number 1. It's I'm using this NRP recovery machine. I got this one specifically. I asked to get this, had this extra cord on it, which this, if you have a float switch in a recovery bottle, well, you take out that little yellow end there. It's a little special plug. And I noticed the one guy who was handling the refrigerants, the main refrigerant guy who takes care of all our bottles and things like that, he was putting float switches in there. This one doesn't have a float switch, so you got to be careful when you're filling those, and because you don't want to overfill it. Say if it's supposed to be a 50-pound bottle, you're only supposed to, usually it'll say in the bottle, say 47.7 pounds or something, because it could have expansion if you leave it out in the hot sunny day or something. This could be a very bad problem. And then I'm using this cool little subcooler here. The official terminology, what they call it, is a molecular transformator. And once I get, I've already gotten 45 pounds out of this circuit. And my co-worker thinks these, that's one of the sight glasses right there. That's for lube oil between the two compressors. There's another one though. Each one has one other sight glass. He says those ones were leaking, so I have 2 brand new of those. And just like another co-worker said, he said it's not going to leak through the glass. We probably just use the old ones, actually, because he seems to think that's pipe thread. I looked at them, just glanced at them. I didn't think they were pipe thread, because sometimes they have weird threads on stuff, but maybe it is pipe thread. So I'm just going to use some really good sealant. And yeah, see what kind of, I use that inline dryer right there too. Then once I put the vacuum pump on this, I'm hoping to get all the refrigerant out of this circuit today. I can put the vacuum pump on there and let it run on Saturday and Sunday. The warmer day, if it's a 90-degree day, that's perfect for evacuating. You want hot weather is always better for evacuating. And then these hold 130 pounds each. Each circuit holds 130 pounds of R410A. And then I'll put my micron gauge on there. A micron is actually 1/millionth of an inch, and it's a 1,000th of a millimeter. So it's kind of like when you're checking with a manometer, which usually have some water in there. It's like on a little card, usually with a little hose on there and some graduation marks. That's for checking, like, say, your pressure. Basically, it's for checking atmospheric pressure or pressure inside of a duct, which a fan is blowing through or whatever and stuff. It's not that accurate. But this is the same principle when you use your micron gauge. It's electronic. It usually uses a transducer, and then you want the transducer to be pointing up. It has a little angled connector on it. If it's down and oil gets in there, it could affect the accuracy. But you want to get about, atmospheric pressure is like 770,000 microns, I do believe is what it is. But like we like to get it down to about 4,000 microns. So it's the same thing as inches of mercury on your manometer for checking like the atmospheric pressure or pressure inside of a duct or whatever and stuff. This is the same principle when you use your micron gauge, but it's much more accurate. It's 1/millionth of a inch. 1/millionth of an inch of mercury is what 1 micron is. So that's some pretty accurate. That's some pretty accurate measurement of vacuum. So that tells you if you have a leak, if it leak goes up, keeps going up, and or you could have, sometimes they have a little ball valve. They'll even tell you, make sure you open that ball valve halfway, because it could have some gases trapped in there or whatever, then close it, or fully open it or whatever and stuff. But I've seen some people, also the refrigerant could be in the oil, and the compressor could be boiling off, moisture in there. If you ever have a leak on the low side, you're going to suck air in, could have moisture. With R134A, for instance, it has polyol ester oil, POE oil. It has a propensity to attract, it's hygroscopic, it attracts moisture. So you never want to leave that system open, whatever you do, or just put the new compressor in, do it fast. Once you pull the plugs, the compressor will come nitrogen charged with a few pounds of nitrogen, say 20 or whatever it is. When you pull the rubber plugs out and stuff, it goes shh. If you don't hear that, I'd be worried, because there could be air inside. Air could have got inside the compressor and contaminated the oil. But I'm going to start this baby up here. It's pretty noisy, so I've done it. The other day I was making a little short video, and I had this recovery machine on, and I can't really hear what I'm saying. What a nice day.